designing, planning, and conducting coaching sessions. Okay. What are the learning outcomes? How to align coaching session designs with the coaching agreement and goals. How to provide a safe environment for each interaction. And how to co-design coaching assignments. This is a very, very important part of the coaching process. So let's see how we accomplish all the learning outcomes. Okay. So let's go through the learning triangle. We would have done this in the earlier sessions. So some of it could be a reiteration, but that is important because this is something that we need to imbibe, and we need to have it completely in ourselves so that we are able to follow the process for every coaching session that we do. First and foremost, as we know that it's the first area is the area of connection. What are we actually doing at this point? We are building our rapport with our client. We are assuring the client that the interaction is going to be a safe space for communication, for sharing, and that the client can openly share with the coach. So this is the time you're building trust, you're building rapport, and you're breaking ice. So the coach from his side is always trusting the capabilities of the client. The coach trusts that the client has all the resources within himself to come up with solutions, and the coach is just facilitating the process and enabling the client to come up with his solutions and achieve his goals. So that is the basic trust that is there from the coach, and the coachee is feeling now trusted and in a safe space. And how does the coach do this really? The coach now practices active listening. What is active listening? Now, the coach listens at various levels. The coach is listening to what the client says, not just his words. He listens to his body language. He listens to his gestures. He listens to the tone of the voice. He perceives energy shifts. He perceives emotions. So the coach is completely with the client and is able to perceive, listen, and perceive the client completely. And that way, the coach is in sync with the client. At this point, when you're listening not just his words, but the coach is listening for what are the client's values, what are the client's aspirations, what are the client's vision, what is the sense of the client in terms of his traits, in terms of what is deeper in the client. So the coach is listening with the heart, is paying attention to every word that the coachee is talking, the client is talking, is listening to metaphors, because that gives away a lot of what the client wants to communicate. And eventually, as this happens, the coach and the coachee are dancing together in the moment. So what do we mean by dancing together? It means they're completely in sync with each other. They're completely comfortable with each other. They're completely feeling trusted with each other and totally safe. And they know that this is an onward journey for transformation. And for this, the coach necessarily needs to be authentic, be true, be honest. His level of integrity is perceived then by the client. The next level, a very important level, is the level of outcomes. Now, what do we mean by outcomes? Now, the coaching is a process. Okay, the coaching is a process, the process of attaining a goal through a process of inquiry and through action plans. Now, for this, it is important that there is a goal in mind, because this is not just conversation. We're not meeting a client just to chat or just to, be a sounding board. We are enabling the client to transform. And what do we mean by to transform? To attain the goals by ensuring that shifts are taking place through larger awareness, through larger perspective, which the client gains because the coach and the client are co-creating this process. So it's extremely important that at the outset, the goals, the overarching goals of the entire engagement, the engagement can be 6 sessions, 10 sessions, okay? The overarching goals are established, and after the overarching goals are established for the entire engagement, every session will again have its own goal for the session. So the goal for the session will necessarily be linked to the overarching goal, so that through a series of sessions, you are attaining the larger goal. Now, it can so happen that as you go along, there could be a little bit of tweaking of the goals, you see, because right in the beginning, the complete clarity may not be there, but you have a large vision, you have a large aspiration. And while you're fine-tuning, there could be a little bit of tweaking that happens. That can happen. But eventually, you are coaching for an overarching goal and coaching through goal-related session to accomplish the overarching goals. In between, it's also necessary that the coach checks in with the client in terms of whether he feels we're really aligned or we're on the path that is achieving the goal. So this also prevents any digression that takes place and also keeps the client on track, on the path towards the progress. At this stage, it's also important to really know how important is it for the client to achieve that goal, to achieve his aspiration. Where does this particular goal fit in with his larger picture? Where does this goal fit in with his larger vision? Larger vision in terms of career, larger vision in terms of life, relationship, whatever he really wants to see as a larger outcome which he is planning to achieve. Then we have seen that the next step is the discover. What do we mean by discover? We really mean that we deep dive through conversations into who the coachee is, who the client is. And this is through a curious questioning, curious probing to understand and understand what is not really very obvious, but what is, as you know, even in an iceberg, right? You have something that is over the iceberg and a whole lot that is under the iceberg. What is over the iceberg will be skills, will be knowledge, will be what is apparent. But what is not apparent could be value systems, could be beliefs, could be something that is really hidden, which need to be opened up so that the pathway to the progress is completely clear. So the coach uses very clear communication. He's very articulate, he's open, and he uses always the language of the client. That is important, so that it is not that, you know, the client is using one language, he's particular with a certain set of terminology, and the coach comes up with something completely different where the client and he feel that they're not in sync with each other. So use a simple language, whatever the coach follows, what the client is comfortable with. Okay. Then the next part, which we will discuss today, and an extremely important part, is the actions. After the discovery or the discover phase, which is a phase in which you're invoking awareness, okay, a very, very important phase, where the coach invokes awareness through which the client is able to have a larger perspective, have multiple perspectives. Through this, the coachee is now seeing the issue from a different lens altogether, and not the limited lens that, just a minute. Not the limited, not the limited lens through which he was viewing the issue. Now it's a much, much larger perspective. Once he's come up with that, the coach is able to facilitate that the coachee sees what are the new options that are arising, what new possibilities are arising, what new opportunities are arising. And having come up with this awareness. It is now essential that through this new awareness, you're going to reach the progress, but through implementation of actions. You see, in any learning, you need to implement. Unless you implement through actions, it just remains a wonderful conversation. Now, the process of coaching is not just conversation. The process of coaching means that you go through all this through an action plan. Be very specific about what is your action, how often, in what time frame, what frequency, with whom. All that needs to be articulated and outlined very clearly, so that in between the coaching sessions, the coachee, the client, implements these actions and sees for himself that he's making strides of progress. So we will discuss this in greater length as we go along. So the coach is actually co-creating or helping the client through questioning to come up with action plans and eventually move towards the goal that has been outlined. Then one monitors the progress, because the coachee is accountable for his actions. The coachee is accountable for the progress that he wants to make. How much accountable he is, how interested he is, it's the coachee's call. The coach is accountable for the process and helping, being a partner with the client. But the client is completely, the coachee is completely accountable for him, for his process of implementation and outlining the action plans. So the point is action and implementation. Action planning and implementation is a very, very crucial step in the progress of the client's transformation. Are there any questions at this point in time?
Ms. Kulkarni, this is Seema. Could you please repeat? Could you please repeat the part where you said the coach is accountable for the process, and then I kind of missed that part.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that for the progress, the client is accountable. For his own progress, that is the client's progress, the client is accountable. Therefore, he needs to have a very solid action plan in place, which he is going to implement. It's through the implementation of these actions itself that he is going to transcend his current level and move to the next level. What is the coachee's role? The coachee's role is to co-create the planning, action planning. So he is accountable for co-creating the action planning with the coachee, but eventually outlining the plan and implementation of the plan, which is going to lead to his progress, lies squarely with the coachee.
Okay, great.
Yeah?
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Any questions?
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
On the outcome part,
yeah,
like from the couple of demo sessions what we had.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, who is primarily responsible to set the outcome?
It is the coachee, the client. It is his goals. We are enabling a transformation to help the client achieve the client's goals. Mm-hmm. We are not setting the goals as coaches.
Yeah, but like what I have, like, of course, like from not when I was trying to do a little bit of more discovery on coaching.
Can you speak a little louder, please?
Okay, is that better now?
Yes, it's better.
Okay, thank you. So when I was trying to discover a little bit more about coaching, generally, in most of the videos which have been floated, what I could observe is, so if I'm a coachee and I tell a little bit about my goal, then coach used to put a little bit of toppings and present it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Would that be a necessity? Or should we again like drive the coachee okay, can you be more clearer? Can you frame it in one statement? Something like can we force them?
Yeah, it is not about forcing.
Sushma,
Yeah. You want? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, let me comment on this. The first thing, my request to every learner here is to not to go for the generic videos on Google and refer the coach study guide. Of course, since I understand that you must have referred it earlier, and even from our side, we have given you coach study guide late. But refer the coach study guide. Why? Because there are many misconceptions about coaching. And even the videos and articles you will get, which will be combination of the coaching, counseling, and consulting.
Right.
So our program is a very professional program wherein we are developing you as a ICF gold standard coach. So there are variety of the coaching practices. For example, the EMCC, right? EMCC is also a very reputed organization in Europe. They mix mentoring with the coaching.
Okay.
It is their way. Our way is mentoring is different and coaching is different. Coaching is coaching, right? So focus on the coach study guide. Within the coach study guide, if there is some literature or some video wherein it is confusing or you are having any question, do ask that. So this is my point number one. My point number two is about goal. Like you said, that is client will come up with the goal and the coach should add some kind of topping or the value or something like that. So it is half truth. But let me first tell, means why I am saying the half truth. Yes, there is a value addition what coach is going to do in finalizing a right goal for the client, but it's a very step-by-step process. It is not the agenda of the coach. It is not the goal of the coach. Coach will always ask the client that is okay, what you would like to achieve during today's session. Of course, this question can be asked in a variety of the ways, but the meaning of the question is more action-oriented, more achievement-oriented, more result-oriented. So what is that? Then the coach will say, I want to achieve XYZ. Right. Once the coach will say that is, I want to achieve. Yeah. So just wait. So someone has come. So Sushma, you continue. I will join in a minute.
Yeah. Can you hear me, Raghunandan?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So the point is that eventually when a coachee comes to the coach, he is coming for his transformation, for his enablement to achieve something, right? So what is to be achieved will always be the choice of the client.
Yeah.
That's so he's coming in. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You're
so
back.
Now the client has told you that this is my goal. Now, let me tell you that in majority of the cases, I don't want to use percentage because it differs from the type of the client. In some cases, the percentage differs. In majority of the cases, the client stated goal, the client will feel during the session that it was not the perfect goal. It was not the adequate goal. It was not the enough goal, because that is the client's superficial understanding on what they want to achieve. So they are only scratching the surface. Again, I'm talking majority of the time. You will get some evolved clients who are very clear and all that.
Right.
So means I don't want to judge the client, but in majority of the cases, they will say some goal which they want to achieve. Generally means, if you see the neurological level, their goal will be at the bottom of the triangle. They will talk about environment or behavior. Right. So there is a neurological triangle, right? So what I have already given to you or not? Okay. So I will give it to you tomorrow. So generally people face problem on the environment from the people. So they have problem with the people, they have problem with the boss, they have problem with some kind of situation or event, or they have a problem with the behavior. So this is what generally 80% of the cases people will say, that is, okay, this is my goal, either problem or their ambition or the desire. Now, during the coaching process, during the evoking awareness, during this central process of discovery, you will understand that is the goal is exactly what is the root of that goal, why client has this particular goal, why client wants to achieve what he or she wants to achieve. So you will go to the root belief system, root value system, root desire, right? Once you go to that particular root desire, then you understand that is at what level the problem can be solved. So means it can be goal or problem, but in this example, I'm talking about the problem. So now, many times the problem cannot be solved at the stated level. For example, the person comes with you with a behavior problem. Now, for example, if the behavior is the real problem and he already knows that, he would have already solved that particular problem. He would not have approached coach and pay money to the coach.
Right.
He's struggling to solve the problem. His understanding is that it's a problem of that behavior of the other person. He is struggling. He is trying all the methods of the improvement of the behavior, but he is failing, and now he is approaching you. Always remember that is you have to go to the another level to solve the problem. Problem will not be solved at the same stated level. That you are going to understand in our neurological levels, right? So means in my NLP workshop, I have already covered that, but during this particular session, I'm again going to cover that. Once you do that, then automatically things become clear, and in majority of the cases, goal changes. Now the goal or the action is not related to the behavior. The goal or action can be related to the identity, can be related to the belief system. So now the entire body, and why this is important? Otherwise, your action plan will not give you result, because your action is on a behavioral improvement, but the real problem is not related to the behavioral improvement. Real problem is the belief system what the client has. So unless client change that particular belief system, there will not be change in the behavior. So that is the value addition of a coach.
Yeah.
So the goal what coach and coachee will finalize during the discussion will be a value added goal or a solution which coach will discover between coach and coachee through the variety of the tools and techniques. And that is the reason why people say that is generally the goal changes during the coaching session, and the coach adds value to the goal or the problem statement, and of course to the solution and the achievement of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Can I just add a little more to this? So let me just give you an example. There was a coaching engagement where the coachee says he wants to, it's a very, very broad goal. I want to improve my team management skills. Whereas on probing a little deeper, understanding, going through the process of discovery, what really came out was that he's unable to delegate.
Got it.
His delegation skills were poor. The rest of his team management skills were good.
Right.
So one had to kind of funnel down to find out exactly what is the problem. So in doing so, the coach enabled the clarity, but the goal was of the coachee.
Right.
So similarly, another thing was on, I want to improve my performance. Now that's a very, very broad area to improve performance, right? So are there some areas of performance you need to improve? Are there some key result areas in which you're not performing? That gets fine-tuned through the discovery and evoking awareness. And then you have, okay?
Right. Thank you. Yeah. One of the most insightful point is like as Hemant, intervening between and said, okay.
Yeah.
In the beginning, which you also added with the right set of examples.
Yeah.
Why it changes, and this is very essential, because once we start coaching, once we start experiencing these dynamics, now this has set a very good expectation even to us, telling that, oh, okay, this is going to change a lot. Let's be prepared.
Yeah. Because very few times does the client have such fine-tuned clarity that exactly this is what I want to achieve, you know? So through the conversation, the coach enables the coachee for proper clarity. So that, as Hemant said, that we go to achieve the goals. There's a proper action plan. If it is very, very broad, very, very large, you will find the conversation also digressing this way, that way, and you may not be hitting the nail on the head.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, Seema.
Thank you.
Okay, this is more of a clarifying question. When we say that we set the overarching goals or every session has goals, do we follow SMART principle here when we set the goals?
Yeah, typically what is a SMART? That it's specific, it's measurable, it's realistic. So these principles do apply, because for any goal, why is it called SMART? So that the goal is achievable, right? The idea of a SMART goal is that it is achievable, it is specific. If it is not very specific, then it becomes too large. You may be barking at the wrong side. Whereas if it is specific, you know what you are progressing towards. If it is measurable, then only you will have some way that, yes, I was here at the beginning of the engagement and now I am here. So therefore, the SMART goal in principle does apply.
Okay.
The
discussion that we just mentioned about goal being changed, or as per Raghu's question, there could be a possibility that the coach may have further discussion on clarifying the SMT of the SMART. The specificity, the measurability, and the time bound. So if it's not very clear, the coach may ask questions to seek clarity on that. Is there a possibility?
Yes, it's a possibility, because you see, every goal, even if I say now I want to improve my performance, or I want to, and the coach says in what areas. Now, I can't say that I want my performance to improve over the next 5 years, right? If I want to improve my performance, I have to do it within a 1-year time frame. Some results need to show, right? So there has to be some time frame element inside it. Now, when you're talking about performance, say, then again, there will be something specific, which area of performance you'd like to improve. So the questioning will help you define it. And always there has to be some level of time element involved, because even if you have a relationship problem, okay, a relationship or a behavioral problem, you may not be able to change as quickly as, say, another kind of an issue, because behavior takes time, because, you know, we have imbibed our behaviors over a certain period of time, it becomes a habit. But the fact that a coaching intervention is needed, we cannot say, okay, after 10 years, I will change my behavior. We'll have to do it in a reasonable time, which is where the results can be seen.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, shall we go ahead? Yeah. So the coaching sessions, planning and flow. So for every coaching session, one needs to plan and follow a flow so that we are not omitting anything and we are well prepared. So what are these steps? First and foremost, we need to work on the logistics. What do we mean by logistics? Now, the coaching session can happen in a physical location. That means there is a FaceTime with the coach and the coachee. It could happen in the office, it could happen wherever. So it would mean necessarily a place where there is that privacy to have the coaching conversation. A lot of coaching is now happening online due to the pandemic. A lot of teaching, a lot of coaching, a lot of training is happening online now. Now, when you're going into online coaching, you will necessarily need to be very clear on the bandwidth. So you need to also inform the coachee that these are important issues which he needs to look into, his own bandwidth, the coach's bandwidth, okay? Because you are teaching online. What is your connectivity like? What is your bandwidth like? You'll need to work on it to getting that in place. Otherwise, how is your sound system? Because every now and then, if you cannot hear or if there is a disturbance, it'll disrupt the entire conversation. It is also important that when you're teaching online, that both the coachee and the coach is familiar with the platform. So if we are having a platform, say Zoom, then both the parties must be comfortable with this platform. What icons to press? How does it work? How do you log in? How do you log out? How do you record? Right? Similarly, if it is a Google Meet, you need to understand that platform. You need to have seen that platform, worked on that platform. Okay, so all this makes work on the logistics. Then the coach preparation. It is important that the coach prepares for the session. And why? Why should we prepare for the session? Can I ask the group?
Prepare for the coaching session.
Yeah.
Okay, so basis what we discussed last time,
Yeah.
it was primarily one to have a coachee analysis as to know more about coachee.
Yes,
and kind of prepare. You can't prepare yourself completely with the questions, but just have a framework of questions ready, and then you take it ahead as per coachee's responses as per the conversation goes on.
Okay. So yes, it is important to know in advance if there's something that the coachee needs to communicate before the session. Very good. Any other perspective?
And it's also help us to get the formal agreement between coachee and coach.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, so the formal agreement, yes. So you are saying that the agreement before the session or after the session?
One before the session, and after the session, it might change based on the discussions and how we go.
No, so the question right now is about how and why is it important for the coach to prepare for the session? Is it necessary that the coach needs to prepare at all?
Yes, it is necessary, ma'am. You have to have a ground play for trust.
Yeah.
And you first start with that so that everything is comfortable between you and the coachee.
Yes.
And you have made the ground play absolutely comfortable. The setting is comfortable. The trust is there. There is there's rapport being made.
Yes.
All that is preparation.
Yeah. Any other perspective?
Yeah. Also, there are multiple methodologies.
Yes.
So, like it is always good, kind of prepare ourselves. Like we might be thinking, okay, I will go in this method, but situation might challenge us to change the methodology. Probably it is also good. I mean, you can always correct, like it's also good to kind of, brush up a little bit on the different methodologies so that it helps during the discussion.
So if you're planning to use a particular model, yes, the coach would need to prepare. Also, it is important for the coach to prepare means be present during the entire engagement. Now, when we say present during the session, what does that really mean? Because all of us are humans, right? So it's possible that we've had a disturbing episode at home, or we've had some tension outside where we are a little distracted, or we are ourselves a little disturbed. So it is important that the coach is completely calm and totally present for the session. So often coaches follow the yoga practice because that helps you. Coaches also follow meditation because that helps you calm. Also, as a learning, on a long-term thing, not necessarily just for the session, but the coach also prepares for his own growth. The coach, that could be through having a coach himself, so that the coach's self-awareness about himself expands. And that helps the coach to coach. Okay. So meditation is something that a lot of coaches do. Also, what happens is you may require to take notes during the session. So You may require to have your pen, pencil. If there's something that you need to share, if you have promised to share some knowledge, some book, some article to the coachee, you will need to provide that. Okay, so whatever needs to be provided, your own mindset, the coaching mindset, which itself is a huge topic in itself, coaching mindset, to be in the right frame of mind to coach, to be calm, to be in the moment. The coach needs to see that, yes, I'm fine now. I'm really not disturbed, or, I'm not in a flustered state. Okay. Then the next is to establish the purpose and the goal of the session.
Yeah. So just wait.
Yes, somebody wants to ask me something?
No. So I want to provide some Hemant this side.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I want to provide some inputs to them on the coach preparation.
Yeah.
In today's world, as well as in future post-COVID, you can consider that more than 80% of your sessions are going to be online, because people have now accepted the online learning, the online discussion culture very well. They were resistant in past. In past, people feel that, okay, coaching is a very intense conversation, so you have to meet in person and all that. So that used to be the mentality. But now that mentality has changed and people have understood the convenience of the online. So consider that your majority of the session or high majority of the session will be online. So the preparation includes the online infrastructure, reliable infrastructure at both sides. Why? Because you have all the proper facilities, but the coach's connection is bad. Your entire impact of the coaching session is going to go down, right? So at the both ends, the preparation, the coach has to ensure that the coachee has a right connection, coach has a right internet connection, right? Now I'm going to go into the specifics. Why? Because we can talk philosophical and the theoretical, but you may not get a great help into it. So, for example, camera. Now this is not a coaching session. In a coaching session, what we have to do, your eyes have to be to the camera. Do you know why? Because the coachee is going to see you through that way. Now, for example, see, now if you see me right now, you are seeing my eyes at an angle. Am I right?
Yep.
Why at an angle? Because I am seeing either my own picture or the picture of a faculty or a student. Now, the picture of the faculty and the student is not exactly at the camera, right? So the eye contact. So now in the online, if you have to make that particular eye contact and connection, you have to talk like this. So you have to always see. Now, do you know what people do? People see at the coachee, because now, for example, I am seeing the coachee at the center of the screen. But now when I see the center of the screen, I am not having the eye contact with the coachee. This is an unfortunate fact. So you need to prepare yourself to always look at the camera, a simple thing which you have to practice. So this is also the part of the preparation. Yes. Now, what is the clarity of your camera? You must have HD camera. Why? Because understand that it's a very intense conversation, and if the coachee is not in a position to look at you properly, or you are not in a position to observe the coachee properly, again the impact of the coaching has to be so you need to see that how coachee and you have a good infrastructure, good camera. Now I go for more detailing. For example, the background. Many people have this virtual background. Do you know the problem of this particular virtual background? The virtual background will have some kind of 3D effect, some kind of shadows behind your head. They are very distracting and they give you a feeling of artificialness. The coaching is a relationship. The coaching is a connection. Now, if the coachee is seeing some, hello, yes, yeah, who's there? Okay, so now if the coachee is seeing a artificial intelligence, then that connection is going to go down. So you need to connect with the coachee on a very real time. So what you have to do, instead of a 3D image or a virtual image, you need to take care of your own real background by putting a wallpaper or having a proper arrangement that is more real, more natural. It will help you in better connect with the coachee. Now, sound. Do you have a proper mic, right? So you need to have a very proper mic, not the computer sound or some normal thing. The clarity of your sound impacts, because why? In a coaching, we talk about the pauses and the silence and the language and the communication clarity, but your sound itself is not good. What impact you are going to have, right? Also the sound at coachee end. Why? Because you will take care of everything, but the coachee is going to talk for the 80% of the time, and means it is his session, right? So you are the facilitator of the session, and if at his end there are problems, then so you need to basically align these requirements with the coachee during your pre-discussion, right? That is okay. If we both have this kind of infrastructure, you will get better result, and you should encourage coachee to have these particular points. Now, when you are having a coaching session, how you are ensuring that the people around you are not going to disturb you? What is that discipline? In which room you are going to sit? Right? If you are having a pet, how that pet will be taken care during that 60 or the 90 minutes time. And the same thing is applicable with the coachee. So to understand, the things are not at a very intellectual level. The things are at very operational level. Because if you are not following the basic preparation at an operational level, all your intellectual level is going to go to drain. So take care of all these nuances, all these hygiene factors of environment, right? Very well at both the sides. So this is the point number one. Now I go to the more advanced topic. Now consider that you have
Just
10
interrupt, sir.
Yes.
So can I interrupt?
Yes,
So
yes.
you can take care of all this from your side. How do you take care from the opposite person's side?
Right.
That's just not.
Yeah. So that is the reason during your initial pre-session discussion with the coachee means, see, when I'm talking, I'm using each word very carefully, right? So I already have said that you should encourage coachee to have these facilities, and you should encourage that if you have these particular facilities, you will get better result. So it is not a policing, it is not a command, it is not a direction to the coachee, but you need to inspire coachee. You do this, right? I am already doing this. If you also do this, you will get better results. Like that, you have to do it. Now it will depend on person to person. There will be few people who will not be in a position to do it. Now, for example, then do you know the sources? We see, always remember, you should think about why analysis. You should think about what can be the next question of the coachee. For example, I'm telling you that is okay. You need to have a good mic system. Now the coachee will say, okay, help me. I don't know. So do you have shortlisted mics on Amazon, which are better, shortlisted cameras on Amazon? Then you will tell, no problem, I will help you in provide the links. You compare, you take the call from the links, what I will say. So you have to go to this level, because if you miss this basic level, all your great preparation is going to go waste, because you are not hearing each other properly. The decorum is not good. There is a disturbance at coach's end or your end, right? So understand this, and how to do this is your personal idea, right? So in my case, let me tell you, 100% of the coachee agrees, 100% of the coaches, right? Because I tell them that is, if you do this, you will get phenomenal results. Everyone wants phenomenal result. For the phenomenal result, means they are already spending few lakh rupees in the coaching. Can they not spend another 5,000 rupees? Because this camera cost 2,000 rupees. A mic cost only 1,000 rupees. right? So if and a discipline, the camera and mic, the 3,000-4,000 rupees is just one aspect. The discipline of in which room you are sitting, how you are telling your family members to give you that particular privacy for that particular 60 minutes. So these are all the pointers you have to take care. And that if you think that you have to take care, you will find the solution. But if you are not thinking itself, that is okay, these are the nuances and the hygiene factors I need to take care, then there is no question of you finding the solution. So this is the point number one. Point number two, consider that you are having 10 coaches, not one or two coaches. Now, how you are going to take a take the review? So you need to have a separate folder on your computer for each coachee. The folder should have subfolders: disc profile, life purpose test result, the coaching, pre-coaching questionnaire result. So all these particular things, the information, the biodata of the coachee, the notes of the earlier sessions. So before the coaching session, before you doing the meditation and the silence for the few minutes, you should go through that particular folder. You have to see that is okay. What is the behavioral profile of my coachee? What is the life purpose test result of my coachee? What we have done in our last session. Once you do it, you get the idea and then you flex your behavior. My coachee is coming from I behavioral pattern. And this is what my understanding of the coachee in the previous session. So how I am going to adapt my behavior to the coach's behavioral pattern. That mental preparation, you have to do it before the session. You have to wear that particular role. You will be now Amir Khan playing a role in the Lagan, right? So now you go into the role. That role is for the benefit of the coachee. So that is the real preparation. Go into that particular role which is related to your coachee so that you can connect with the coachee better. You will adapt your behavioral style to the coach's behavioral style, and you go through the coach's behavioral profile test results as a practice. Don't go for the memory, because I have worked in Japanese companies, right? So means it's a very discipline. Don't go for the memory. Follow the checklist. Okay, have I recheck this type of the coachee? Have I rechecked the life purpose test of the coachee? Have I rechecked the last session result of the coachee? Tick, tick, tick. How? Then the fourth tick. Am I mentally preparing myself to be in the zone for the coach's behavioral pattern? So you have to go up to that level. If you have to become a very successful coach, if you have to become an ordinary coach, nothing is required. Only the certifications and your contacts are enough. But if you want to really excel in this particular profession, you have to go into this minor detail and you have to follow all these particular disciplines.
So one question, sir. So you also said that you have to reflect your coach preparation is studying the case study of the coachee, the case study. So how do you prepare? Because this is also very important.
Not case study, the notes of your earlier sessions. See, understand now. See, if you are having one or two coaches, then maybe you can remember that. Consider that you have a 10 coaches, right? So you need to review before the session. Before the session, you have to go to the folder of that particular coachee, review his test results, review the earlier notes and all that. Not the case study. I'm talking about the questionnaire. Whatever has happened between you and coachee, as a practice, as a checklist, you have to glance through it. You have to understand to it. And once you understand it, means, for example, your session is at 6 p.m. You start at, say, 20 minutes prior. So at 5:40, you will go to the folder, you will go to that particular coachee, you will review the DISC, life purpose test, earlier notes, and if there are any other documents or the assignments what you have given to the coachee and the coachee has done. So now you are going into the zone, you are coming into the zone, right? You are now reading the script of the acting, if you are an actor. So now you are in the bhumika, you are coming into that particular mind frame. Once you come into that particular mind frame, ask yourself a question, that is, this is my coachee. How should be my behavior during this particular coaching session? Because it will change from coachee to coachee. It will change from the coachee's behavioral profile. So once your subconscious mind get that signal, that is, yes, now I have to flex my behavior for this particular person. This is your preparation level number 2. Then the preparation level number 3 is, of course, a silence, a small meditation, a 2-3 minutes piece wherein you are not thinking about coaching, not thinking about yourself. Just watch your breath and come to the moment. Okay, now I am at a peace. Now I am in the moment. And then you start the session. So these are the 3 steps of the coach preparation. Of course, you can have more, right? But these are the minimum 3 steps for the coach preparation.
A quick question, Hemant, Lakshmi here.
Yeah.
So if we are doing some foreign assignment, like in different geographies, so there may be a cultural challenges also. So how we should adapt? Maybe they may feel like same country person to coach it, or if they are coming with the Indian and some Belgium kind of person as a coachee. So how we have to adapt the cultural similarities. So if we are
so now you are talking about understanding coaching. Understanding coaching is a different topic. So during the understanding coaching, you will understand the cultural differences, beliefs, differences, do's and don'ts, right? What is taboo in their culture? What is preferred behavior or the language in their culture? That is a part of the understanding of the coaching, right? Right now we are talking about, you are already in the session. So you are already in the session means you already know the coachee well, right? That is the reason you have started the session. So right now the discussion is focused on a session. During the session or immediately before the session, 10-15 minutes is also the time of the session, right? If the session is starting at 6, you are not going to come to the screen exactly at 6. I am asking you to come 20 minutes before, have this particular preparation, set your mental frame, go for a small meditation, be in the moment, and then start the session. So right now the discussion is centered towards the session planning and the flow, right? So your question is on the understanding on the coaching. Maybe at a appropriate point in time when we are talking on how to better understand coaching, we will take this question.
So now also when we are doing the foreign assignment, currently when we are working with the coachee, he is from other geography. So how we have to adapt in this current process also? Maybe we have to speak his language or her language.
Wait. The process steps remain same.
Okay.
Process steps are not culture oriented or the nationality oriented.
Okay.
The process steps remain same. You have to understand the coachee, go to the folder of the coachee. You have to go for the environment check, your camera check, mic check, right? So the peacefulness check, nobody will disturb you. And the same culture you have to establish at the coachee's end, because you are taking all the cares, but the coachee is talking to you from a restaurant. So the impact will go. So this is the basic level. Once you ensure this basic level, then you go through your earlier notes, coach's profile. Once you do it, then you come to the mind frame based on the coach's behavioral profile, right? Okay, this is this coachee persona. I'm talking the persona. How I'm going to adapt to this persona today during this particular session. So you will you will give this input to your mind. Then you go for a small meditation and then you start the session. So whether the coachee is from the Belgium or the US, this particular process steps remain same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Hemant, I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
The first one is related to this preparation. Is it okay to have a kind of clearing call when we talk about that, let's say as a coach, if I have some baggage or something bothering me, maybe I can have a coach.
I could not hear you. Means whatever you said, there was some problem in the voice.
Disturbance. It's reverberating.
Sorry.
No. Still no.
Is it better now?
Yes, now it is better. No. Again, no. So can you please type it in the chat box? Because
so what I was saying is that in coach preparation,
we are not able to hear you, Deepak. So it is better if you type the question in the chat box, because your voice is continuously breaking. Yeah. Don't worry, means we will definitely address your question. Just type it.
I have a small question.
Yeah.
So far, we are quite new to this. I mean, many of us are quite new to this coaching. On the other hand, you have been doing coaching, seeing people face to face, and now we have gone into the digital mode where we don't see face to face, but we do it through the digital mode, meaning through Zoom or through some other mode. There are a lot of disadvantages by doing this way, right? So, because initially we said we have to have a clarity in where even their gestures make a lot of meaning to us when we start doing coaching, isn't it? How do we start really looking at such kind of minute details when we look at them only over the screen?
Yeah. See, means understand one thing. First, I want to remove this particular mindset that digital is a disadvantage or a Zoom is a disadvantage. Our own experience, I'm talking about the Mastermind Life as 3 companies. Our own experience is that we are doing much better in our education and the training from the digital platform. Why? Because the entire focus is only here.
Right.
For faculty as well as for the students. If they want to have the focus, if for example few students want to off their camera and want to roam around, we can't control that, right? Then it is their call. But if the student is there to learn, the digital medium is more intense because that person has a very small window. The focus point is very less. In a classroom, your focus is going everywhere. Your focus is going on what other students are doing, how that table is there, how that projector is there, how that fan is. So your focus is less in the normal classroom. Again, in a normal classroom, for example, we were doing this particular sessions in Mumbai, in Santa Cruz, inside Mumbai University campus. So reaching there was so hectic that when people used to reach there at a cut-to-cut time, and their body and all that, they were under tense. So they used to take at least 10 to 15 minutes to settle down. So we used to waste that particular time. But in a digital ecosystem, when you are at a home or office and you have to just switch on the Zoom, your time to come to the moment is 2 to 3 minutes only. So these are some of the plus points. Then again, the few of the plus points of this particular system is that, see, the human being is such that we adapt very fast, right? So now we are adapting our conversation considering that we are talking digitally. That is already happening. For example, earlier we were not giving too much emphasis on the quality of the presentation. Why? Because the quality of the learning and the topics was more important for us than the quality of the presentation. That was our thought process, means in University of Mumbai. But now we are taking care of the aesthetics, we are taking care of all the small things. So actually our program intensity, whether it is a coach training or whether it is our postgraduate program, has increased many-fold due to the medium of the digital. So the same thing is going to happen with your coaching as well. So this is just, I'm taking a simile, right, of our experience. Now, the understanding of the coaching is at a 2 level. One is a level of who coaching is as a person. That you are already knowing due to the DISC test, life purpose test, and the variety of the other tests. So actually 80% your work is done. You are not always searching for the body language and the clues, because you are very well aware of the who coaching is. Now, during this particular process, on that particular day, there can be a possibility of the coach's mood is bad or something like that. That also you come to know with the simple questioning and the facial expressions, right? For that, it is not necessary that you have to see the entire body and everything, because the real emotions get displayed from the face. And fortunately, on a digital medium, you are in a position to see the face. So if you ask me, am I finding any negative aspect in this particular online coaching? My personal answer is no. But if you ask me, are you finding some positive aspects? I can say yes, there are many positive aspects, right? So first you have this particular mind frame there, and you don't have to worry. And during this particular program, like purposely in the coach preparation, I highlighted that because we are now in a digital ecosystem, what you need to do. So at every point in time, wherein we will feel that, okay, this particular point has a relation with the online medium, we will highlight the practical inputs to you, Karthik. Okay. Yeah. So there is one question from the Deepak on the chat box. In coaching preparation, is it okay to have clearing session with buddy coach initially, if anything bothering as a coach before going on a meeting with the client? Yeah, so there is no issue in you discussing with your fellow coach. If you have that particular time, and if that fellow coach also has that time, and if you are discussing that, and being a professional, you are going to keep everything confidential, right? So I don't see any problem in you discussing with a professional coach, right, on the assignment or on the preparation and all that. But believe me, it will not be needed. After this particular program, you don't have to discuss with any other professional or the buddy coach for your preparation. You will be self-sufficient to do everything on your own. Point number 2, it may be discomfort while looking at the camera and not client. Yes, it is a discomfort. I agree with you. And may lose that bonding and understanding their face expressions. Yes, it is okay to inform client right at the before starting the session that I might appear looking in different direction, but actually looking at it. Yeah. If it is working with you, see, understand what is the objective. Objective is the rapport building. What is the objective? Objective is establishing connection. What is the objective? Objective is engaging with the client, having the eye contact with the client. Now, you can do this particular eye contact by majorly talking like this and frequently seeing the person, right? So that can be done. Or you can have this particular understanding with the client. So now it is depending on your and client's comfort level, because it's a partnership. I may not have the fancy ideas, but the client's expectation is something different. So whatever is comfortable in a communication and conversation to the client and you adopt that particular practice. But whatever practice you adopt, see to it that it helps you in eye contact, it helps you in engagement and connection. Yes. Sushma, please go ahead.
So the next step, help the client get into the right mindset. So it's important that just like the coach is in the right mindset, the client also must come in with an open mind, calm, stable, so that he's able to share. Now, how do we get the client into the right mindset? We start by asking positive questions so that there's positivity into the mind frame of the client. So positivity, it could be, tell me something that worked during the week that went by, or what is working well for you? Any delightful moments of the week that went by, or anything that is helping the client get into a positive mindset. Ask the client, how is he feeling? Is he feeling fine, happy to get into the session? Very often, the coach and coachee get into a few minutes of deep breathing that helps to clear the mind, that helps to settle in, and helps to start the conversation with both being completely present. Okay. The next is set the ground rules. Now, this is important because unless the ground rules are set, the conversation can digress, the disturbances can happen, and there could be a lot of disruption in the conversation. So what are the ground rules? First and foremost, shut the cell phone. Okay. See that all notes that is needed and that you've brought in, we are going to start discussing, and also which would have been spoken earlier, but one could reiterate, is the fact that we are not going to tell as coaches, we are not going to advise, we are not going to consult. It's not a consulting assignment, because it takes a while for the client also to get used to not expecting to be told. So set the ground rules that the coaching as a process does not involve telling or advising. It's going to be a process of inquiries where the client is going to lead. So set the ground rules before the actual conversation takes place. Then it's necessary to have all the right tools. Now, what do we mean by right tools? Sometimes a coaching engagement requires a 360-degree feedback. So do you have the 360-degree feedback with you? Who are the stakeholders that have given the 360-degree feedback? That needs to be brought into the fore. So that's part of your toolkit. Do you have, is it a coaching after an assessment center where the coachee has been assessed for promotion? It could have been a coachee who's been assessed for high performance. So do you have those results and reports with you? Do you have a DISC profile if that has been needed? Is there any psychometric tests that the coachee has undergone? Do you have all those tests and the results with you? So have all the tools that are with you that is going to be required for the conversation. And finally, follow the coaching process. We have discussed the triangle, so we need to follow the coaching process step by step. Any questions on the last 3-4 points? Yes, Seema.
How do we know how many psychometric tools do we need to run with respect to the client, and which one? So whether it's MBTI, DISC, or whichever. And how do we know how much is enough?
Yeah. So typically what happens is when you are engaging with an organization, before the start of the engagement itself, they will tell you that these are the tools. This is a session after a, say, 360-degree feedback, or it's after an assessment center. Sometimes what happens, the coach might suggest to the client organization that, is there any profiling done in terms of an MBTI or any other DISC? Do you have any of the psychometric tests already that have been taken place, which you can use as a tool? Or is it that you would like them to go through something so that it can be used as an input for the coaching engagement? So this gets discussed with the organization right in the beginning itself.
May I ask further question, because that kind of doesn't answer.
Yeah.
The question is, so what I heard you say is either the organization decides after the 360-degree feedback and whatever psychometric test, or the coach advises. Like coach suggests.
If they want to go that way, the coach can suggest to the organization.
Okay. And do we pick up just one of the psychometric tool, or is it like multiple of it?
Well, it would not be multiple. It would really, see, even the overarching engagement is discussed initially with the organization, right? So it would necessarily be something relevant only. So it is not multiple tools.
Yeah.
So what would help us determine for a particular coachee which psychometric tool should be run?
Yeah. So
is there a session later on?
Yes, yes. So there is a separate session on a psychometric assessments wherein you will get the idea of what is the our philosophy towards the psychometric test, when to be conducted, when not to be conducted, which test can be conducted for which type of coaching. Because the example what Sushma gave is for the executive coaching. For the executive coaching, it is very simple because the organizations are very well aware of the test they have already conducted. They will provide you with the test results, and when you will become executive coach, right, during this particular journey you are going to know about, okay, these are the tests which are conducted at corporates. So that knowledge you are going to get during this particular program. The challenge is in a normal case where there is no organization into picture and there is an individual, and for that particular individual which test one has to conduct, right? Now
That's the question.
Yeah, so we recommend that always you will conduct this test and the life purpose test, always. So these particular tests will be given, these particular links will be given to you free of the cost by Mastermind Life. So the coachee has to click on the link, take the test, and the coachee will get the immediate result. So all that particular backend support is available to each and every of Mastermind Life student and alumni, right? So these are the two tests. Now, why this particular two tests? Because
two tests, sorry to interrupt, but two tests are DISC and life purpose, is it?
Yes. So these are the two tests. Now, why these particular two tests? Because with the DISC, you understand the behavioral pattern and you decide on the how to ask questions and what has to be the language of the questions. That will be decided based on the behavioral profile of the coachee that you are going to understand during this particular training, right? So right now we are not at that stage, but you will understand that is okay. If this is the DISC profile of my coachee, what is that adaptation? What is that flex coach will do in behaving with the coachee, in asking questions with the coachee, in giving assignments to the coachee? So it's a very important test. The second test is the life purpose test, which will give you the broader direction of the what coachee's DNA is more suitable for what, and that you will use very well in an appreciative inquiry. Because the life purpose test will give you 10 strengths of a coachee. You will use these particular 10 strengths during your inquiry and during your conversation with the coachee to inspire coachee and to engage the coachee, as well as you will give assignment based on that particular life purpose test result as well as the DISC test result. That also you are going to learn. So these two tests you are already having from the Mastermind Life. Now, apart from that, what test you have to conduct, that will vary from case to case. What is the problem statement of the coachee? Means whether it requires a 360-degree assessment like Sushma has stated that in many cases you require a 360-degree assessment. Now, don't go by these big words, 360-degree assessment. What is 360-degree assessment? It is asking that particular point to few people who know you. So we can do it in a very simple way. Yes, at an organizational level, definitely it will be done in a much systematic way. For example, now you need to increase the self-awareness of the coachee. You can have a very simple questionnaire, and that the simple questionnaire will be responded by colleague of the coachee, family members of the coachee, friend of the coachee, and then that particular self-awareness can be increased. So what is our ideology, and which you are going to learn during the program, that is, we do not depend on some standard test of the market wherein you have to spend money and all that, unless it is executive coaching. Because in executive coaching means you will also know, and the organization also will tell you that is okay, this is what we do. So it's a totally different ball game. It's a very structured and professional ball game where there is a clarity. When there is no clarity, especially in a relationship coaching or a individual coaching, right? At that time, what we recommend you is to create your own questionnaires and own simple tests, right? And when you will be in a position to do it, you will be in a position to do it if you have a clarity on what you are looking for. What is your objective of asking this particular question? And you will be in a position to do it. For example, all students of the Mastermind Life do it. So it is not a rocket science. This is the point number 2. Point number 3, during this particular program, you will come across many websites who offer free tests. Right. For example, there is a website for the positive psychology of Dr. Martin Seligman, right? So he has 20 tests there already, which people can do free of cost. So you can provide that particular link to the coachee. Like that, there are many websites who offer free tests on emotional intelligence and positive psychology and the variety of the things on the strengths finder, and all that particular links you will find in the coach study guide as well. So when you will do your own test from the coach study guide for the strengths and for the values and all that, remember that you can give the same link to the coachee to understand their strengths, values, and the variety of the other areas which you are going to learn during the program. Okay.
All right. Thank you. So just to make sure I understand it correctly, so through MML, there are 2 tests that we usually propose. One is DISC and second is life purpose.
Correct.
But other coaches may also be following other inventory or psychometric tools, right?
No. So means if you heard me, if you listened to me intently, I said that these are the 2 tests what Mastermind Life offers you. Apart from that, which test to conduct, that depends on the coach's profile, problem statement, and goal statement. Our coach study guide has a variety of the links of the test which you yourself are going to go through, like strength finder and the values and the positive psychology and all that. When you are going to undergo as a coach yourself, you will also understand that these free tests can be conducted for your coachee by your coachee. So that wisdom you are going to get during this particular program, because you yourself will undergo more than 10 tests.
Okay. Now I just need an assurance. Would I be reaching a point in this due course where I could say, basis the coachee's purpose or his goal statement, this is the test in that list of series of tests that you're going to propose later on, these are the tests that I advise my clients to take? Would I reach to that stage?
No. So you will, the idea is not to reach to that particular stage, right? So the idea is, depending upon the case, you will take a call on whether to conduct the test or not, which test to conduct. So it is related to the wisdom. It is not related to a checklist of the test, right? So
yeah, so Mr. Laghmare, I think we are talking the same language. That's what I'm trying to ask. Basis my coachee's requirements, would I be able to advise or pick up the test?
Yeah, the question is half-wise. So you are focusing on the test. The idea is not to focus on the test. So this is what I'm saying, right? So the test is a mere tool. Whether you use that particular tool or not is secondary, right? So that is the wisdom what I'm talking about. So the focus is not on a psychometric test. For example, in a coaching domain, people don't focus on the psychometric test and the variety of the test. The coaching is not disoriented. The coaching is when you are going to converse deeply with the coachee, you will have that particular conversation which will allow you to understand coachee, which even a test, even a some kind of great psychometric test also might not give you that. Why people do this particular test, Seema? Because they don't have time, right? For example, I have a say 10 hours time with you. Then during the conversation, if we are open with each other, if there is a trust and intimacy, right, I will get a wealth of information about you, which no test is going to give, because the tests are what? A standard format, which is not a person-centric, right? So there are variety of the ifs and buts in this particular test. So the idea is not to think from the test. The idea is to think that is okay, I need to understand Kochi better, in which the test is the one parameter. But I'm not going to think from the perspective of the test. Okay, for example, this is a X Kochi means these 3 tests. This is a Kochi means these 2 tests. No, so we are not talking about that. That is the wisdom what you are going to get, and that is what will differentiate you between a normal process oriented coach कि अच्छा ये है क्या corporate का आदमी है क्या MBTI करो DISC करो ये करो अच्छा ये family आदमी है क्या ये करो ये करो ये करो. No, so we are not going to do that. You will understand the things holistically.
Got your point. Got your point. Makes sense. Thank you. Thank you.
And during the program, you are going to get this particular wisdom. It is not that you are dependent on Hemant Lavangare for the wisdom. No, you are not dependent on that. During the program, you yourself will understand that is, I now already have this 10, 15 the test access, and now whether I will use this particular test or not, it will depend on the coach and the situation and the circumstance. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is a 5-step structure for a coaching session. One is the outcome. We have discussed why the outcome is important. We need to establish the goals, because the goal is going to create the pathway for the transformation to achieve the goals. And we also discussed that a clarity of goal is also needed, because if there's no clarity of the goal, the conversation can go anywhere. It can digress, and you will never hit the nail on the head. So the 5-step structure involves establishing the outcome, the goal. The next is the situation, is to clarify the individual's current situation and feelings. So what do we mean by this? What is the readiness of the person in terms of achieving the goal? What is his current reality today? Okay. So in terms of his readiness, in terms of any obstacles that he may see, in terms of what is the situation, in terms of support that he may require, what are his feelings? Is he really up and about, feeling confident? Is he feeling slightly diffident? What are his feelings? What are his underlying emotions? Now that is needed for the coach to understand, because that becomes the basis also for further exploration and further probing, so that the client then comes up with his own awareness. Okay, so it is possible that you check with the client, even on a scale of 10, where are you today? If the 10 is what you want to achieve, where are you? Are you at 2? Are you at 3? Sometime later, how have you progressed? Have you progressed to 6 and 7? What is it that you would require to achieve 10? So where is the coachee regarding the situation? Where is he pegging himself? Okay. Then what are the choices? So after evoking awareness, the coachee will see the situation through a larger prism, through a larger lens. He will come up therefore with multiple perspectives, larger perspectives, and then opportunities. So after evoking awareness, the choices and the consequences of the choices will need to be considered for the coachee to be able to opt for what choices is going to be the path to his goal and his transformation. Then, of course, there is the action. The coach will co-create an action plan with the coachee to be able to follow the implementation to achieve the goals. As we discussed earlier, the coaching process necessarily involves an action plan. Coaching means conversation, coaching means inquiry process, as well as action planning. Otherwise, it just becomes a sharing, it becomes a conversation or a sounding board with no particular outcome. For any outcome and any shift, an action plan, an implementation of an action plan is going to be a must. So the coach then will help co-create the action plan, and we will see what are the various tools to create the action plan. And finally, the last step is to review the action. The last step is to review the...
The first thing you
is to review the action plan to see the progress. Is the client in step with the action plan? Is he going as per his pace that he had suggested and decided? Is he off track? Are there any obstacles? This needs to be reviewed and corrected or appreciated so that the client is then now on the process and moves towards the goal. Aligning the coaching sessions design with the coaching agreement and goals. What are the steps involved in this? First and foremost, you're having an icebreaker. You're having an icebreaker to establish your rapport, to build trust, okay, to connect basically, okay, to establish that trust, build rapport. And then you go on to recapturing successes. Why are we doing recapturing of successes? So that the positive aspects of the client come into fore. His successes, his aha moments, where are the areas where he got appreciation in the past? These are areas, all the positive dimensions will help the client to have a quantum leap into where he wants. As we had discussed in the appreciative inquiry, it is not to focus all the time on the negative, because just focusing and course correcting a negative is not going to yield the quantum jump that is required. It's not going to help yield transformation. It is recapturing the successes. Then, of course, you select a topic. It is the goal, what he'd like to achieve, where is his immediate goal vis-a-vis the larger goal, the larger vision that he sees for himself. Is there an alignment? What is the alignment? So you select the topic, you select the goal, you establish, you explore the topic, you deep dive, you discover, you help enable the coachee to come up with new perspectives. And finally, you review options and agree on the next steps. So after a quick opening to establish rapport, most of your conversation is spent asking questions to explore your client's thinking, root cause analysis, and look at the path forward. The session usually ends with laying some action steps to take, which is very, very crucial. Any questions in the last two slides? Shall we go ahead?
Can you recap the select the topic, please?
Select the topic?
Select a topic.
Yeah. So select the topic is what? You're basically establishing goals. What are you going to be? What is the topic of discussion today? What are we going to discuss today? Suppose we are having a coaching engagement. The topic that we are going to discuss is going to be to establish a goal. We are not going to be talking topic to discuss about the weather or the IPL match or the Wimbledon tournament. No. Our topic
right. So which means, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
So which means of the list of goals, it may not be one single item on which he may want to hear.
I'm not able to hear you. Can you talk a little louder, please?
Okay. Off just a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will change my. Okay, am I audible now?
Yeah, better.
Okay, so often he may not have one single topic to discuss as per coaching, right? So in which case he will have many items to be discussed. So how do we select that particular topic which we wanted to zero in on? That.
Yeah. So first and foremost, if we are looking at the overall engagement, there is good, that's the initial sessions. You will have an overall or an overarching goal, right? So, yeah, so you know what is a broad area that needs to get covered, and the different coaching sessions which are going to be part of the coaching journey, you are going to have specific goals to meet the overarching goals, correct? You can't meet the overarching goal in one session because your engagement may be 6, 8, 10, whatever, okay? Because the overarching goal is much larger, and the overarching goal will have sub goals. which will get discussed in the individual sessions. So our probing is going to be when we say select a topic, the client will select the goal. Our probing, our questioning is going to be towards establishing the goal.
That particular. Okay. Got it.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Okay. Any more questions? Okay. Shall we go ahead?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. We will now view a video. Okay. And that will make the entire process of coaching very clear and interesting.
The first thing you need to do when starting a coaching conversation is creating the space to hold that coaching conversation. It's not only about introducing yourself, but making your client feel comfortable in your presence. Let's
It stopped for me. I don't know if others can see it.
I'm gonna come and look. I feel like miles away from you. Okay.
May I request you to rewind it, please?
Okay. How can I help?
Okay.
Thank you.
The first thing you need to do when starting a coaching conversation is creating the space to hold that coaching conversation. It's not only about introducing yourself, but making your client feel comfortable in your presence. Let's see an example.
I'm gonna come and look. I feel like miles away from you. Okay. And hold the mic right up there. Oh, you're ready. How can I help?
To kick off this coaching demonstration, Christine gets nearer to her coaching client and invites her to take a deep breath. These both serve the purpose of creating a space where the client feels safe and at ease. Once the space for conversation is set, Christine asks a simple question: how can I help? To start the conversation and start understanding where the client is coming from. Other powerful questions you can use are: how can we make this conversation a great conversation? Or how can I serve you today? Then we start diving into the core of the session. Let's watch a short clip from the coaching demonstration and see if you can spot what's happening.
Feel it in my body as rejection.
Okay. So how are you doing right now sitting in this room in front of all these people?
I feel a lot of energy going through my system. I feel a lot of activation.
Okay.
I feel like I'm on the edge of my emotional control.
Yep. And if you were just to let go right now, what would happen?
If I let go, I'd probably start crying.
Okay. So can that be okay? Can it be okay?
Yeah.
Just to let go? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What does letting go feel like?
A lot of how do I do this, and how do I?
Yeah.
How do I show up? And I guess some of the imposter syndrome's still coming.
So I'm scared to let go because
I'm scared to let go because they'll see that I'm a fake.
And if they see I'm a fake, then
they won't like me.
And if I'm not then
I'll be ostracized.
Yeah. And what does being ostracized remind you of?
Growing up.
What happened?
I was bullied.
Did you notice what happened? Christine masterfully directed the conversation to the core of the issue instead of staying at the surface of what the client was saying. Be honest, did you spot that? If you did, drop a yes in the comment section below. This will also be a reminder for us all to not stay at the surface. We will remember to go deep. What your clients often start with is what is present to them. It's often familiar to them. Don't be afraid to go beyond the familiar to the uncomfortable, the unfamiliar. Remember, whatever your client says in the beginning is not the problem. Let's break down some of the techniques Christine used to achieve this.
What would people tell you? How are you bullied?
You name it. I was targeted like almost universally by.
Powerful questions are great to understand where your client is coming from and what they're feeling and thinking. Like, how are you feeling right now? Or what is on your mind? And also those that help change or challenge the perspective, like what would happen if? And what does letting go of that feels like? These will also help you find the right direction to get to the root of the problem or challenge your clients are really facing, like Christine does in this coaching demonstration. Incomplete sentences where you ask your clients to fill in the blanks are another great way of helping your clients elicit their deepest fears, struggles, or pain.
I'm scared to let go because they'll see that I'm a fake.
And if they see I'm a fake, then
they won't like me.
And if I'm not like, then
I'll be ostracized.
Yeah. And what does being ostracized remind you of?
Growing up.
As Christine does, you can use this technique to peel off the layers of your client's story to get to the bottom of the issue, which is where you can start helping them, which takes us to the next stage of a coaching session, which is identifying and breaking the pattern. Patterns often govern our lives. When a client reaches out, seek for patterns that they might not see, patterns that might be hurting them. The secret to transformation often hides among these patterns. By now, you've probably identified the pattern, but your client most likely hasn't. Help your client see that there's a pattern to their story and beliefs, but remember, they must figure it out. Transformational breakthroughs happen when the client realizes the shift themselves. Ask powerful questions like, what does that remind you of? How does that serve you? What is holding you back from breaking the pattern? Let's see how Christine tackles the stage with her client.
We can look at it like there's layers and layers and layers, and you're going to be dealing with this till you're 90, and then finally one day it's going to be gone. Or you can look at it as like you're just at the place where you're ready to break the pattern.
Right.
And right when we're at the place where we're ready to break a pattern, it gets stronger.
Yeah.
Right? So that's probably what's up. So patterns like this don't leave even after we dig and dig and dig, because there's still a payoff. There's still something this pattern is attached to, that's attached to one of your survival strategies, like getting love, staying safe, all those kinds of things.
Right.
So to me, it's a pattern of hiding. To me, it's a pattern of playing small, right? And retracting and recoiling.
Right.
How does that serve you?
I think playing small must seem more safe.
Right.
Yeah.
Safe from what?
Safe from rejection, or I mean, if you don't fully shown up and you're not fully seen, then
if I'm not fully.
It stopped?
Yeah, if I'm not fully seen, then they haven't seen enough of me to know what their rejection, so their rejection doesn't mean as much.
Right.
Whereas if they actually see me and then they reject me, then it hurts more.
Do you feel like, let me ask you this, let me ask your little girl this.
Yeah.
Do you really feel like the bullies that bullied you truly saw you?
No, they never had.
Exactly. So do you see how your belief system is a little untrue?
Yeah.
That it was actually not being seen.
Yeah.
That wasn't safe.
Right.
Not being seen.
Yeah.
Not being seen. What does being seen mean?
Being seen, it means I had to have somebody fully see me and appreciate me, and to see the value that I bring, to see, to see through to my divine core, my divine self, that they recognize that glimpse of the divine within me, and they see it, and
yeah, okay.
And I've had instances where people came up to me this weekend and made comments that are basically affirm that people are seeing me.
People are seeing you, okay. But as long as you have that attachment to being seen,
Yeah.
enrolling clients and building your coaching practice is
Right.
becoming more from your wounding
Right.
than from your vision and your service.
Right. And I want it to.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm going to see if I can help you hold this differently inside yourself. Okay. If I had longer with you, we'd go a lot of different directions.
There are three distinctions I want to highlight from how Christine is handling the conversation that you have to be aware of as a coach. Firstly, make sure your client uses I instead of you. When sharing, make sure your client is taking ownership of their feelings and their thoughts. It makes them more present and aware of their introspection. Secondly, stop your clients when needed. Remember, it's your duty to hold the space. If you let your client rant on and on for the whole coaching conversation, there will be no breakthrough. Don't be afraid to stop your clients when they're stuck on a loop or a story and redirect the conversation. Thirdly, sometimes it's okay to say more. We know as coaches, we must help our clients reach their aha breakthrough moments by themselves. However, it's also important to know that sometimes it's okay to intervene and challenge the situation if it's going to bring insight that your client is not seeing and which could propel them to their breakthrough moment. Now let's see what happens when the shift starts unfolding.
Your own self-doubt, that own, when are you going to see me? When are you going to hurt me? Da, 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 is impacting your ability to serve and connect with people.
Right.
So my encouragement to you would be to lean more into where you want to go and stop trying to dig deeper into this wound right now.
Right.
Is this making sense to you so far? Mm-hmm. And in every interaction, how can I see this person? How can I see this person? Like, do with me right now. What do you see?
I see a really big heart.
Christine starts entering the fourth stage of a coaching conversation, which is turning the insight into an action. Having a breakthrough moment is great, but if it just stays as an idea, it'll soon enough fly away again from your client's mind. Help them identify how they can turn their beliefs into tools instead of keeping them as limitations. And take it one step further. Make them practice the tool with you to ensure they know how to start applying it once the conversation's over. Which brings us to the closing of the coaching session. The key takeaways.
Every time I engage in a conversation for the rest of the weekend, just really trying to see the person I'm talking to.
Not trying.
Well,
it's your medicine.
Yeah, just seeing.
Just doing what you do best.
Yeah.
Make sure your client leaves with a concrete action step. A simple question like, what's an action step you can take from this conversation will do the trick. You want your client to continue their inner work in between coaching sessions. So keep them accountable to their journey and progress. My wish for you is that you are even more impactful as a coach. As humanity, we need coaches like you to show up, have the needed conversations, and provide the support current and coming generations will need.
Stopped again.
No.
It's the end, I think.
Yeah, now it is complete. So, Sushma, what you have to do, you have to put the cursor out of the screen. There is a video screen. Na? If the cursor is out, then this problem doesn't come.
Yeah.
So better,
my mistake.
So better we can have some kind of reflection of the questions on this particular video.
Yes.
We move ahead.
Yes.
So it stated a variety of the important points. If the students want to reflect or ask any pertinent question, we can.
Yeah. I take your feedback on the cursor.
Yeah.
The first thing you need to do when starting a coaching.
So, any reflections on this?
And Sushma, also check messages in the chat box what I have sent you.
Yes, yes.
Yes, Seema, please. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, something that stayed, I mean, the whole conversation was wonderful. And I think the coach was really hands-on. I loved it. Something that stayed with me was turning insights into action, turn the belief and the tools, rather than staying there as hurdles, turn them into action. And one part where this person says it's okay to say more at times as coach if the coachee is stuck. So a lot of things which were very relevant, but these points were a little different, and that kind of stuck with me. Like identify the pattern, then question the pattern, how's the pattern serving you, etc. But these two were really good.
Yeah. So Sushma, just stop sharing and means whatever I have said, just work on that and then reshare. Yeah. So what this video has been purposely shown because the video is not an ideal coaching situation or the ideal coaching conversation. So while you learn the process of the coaching, I also want you to be flexible in flexing the process wisely. Now there is a difference, means I'm using the words very carefully, right? Right now, what is our goal as a trainers? We are training you with a goal that every one of you should understand the process 101% well. You need to understand this triangle very well. You must follow the coaching process. This is our objective. But sometimes it happens that the process is for whom? The process is for coach and coachee, right? Coach and coachee is not for the process. So while you understand the process, I want your subconscious mind also to understand that depending upon the situation, I also need to flex. So in a coaching, there is a rule that only 20% of the time coach should speak and 80% or the more client should speak. But in this particular conversation, the coach has to intervene. The coach has to say, talk on some particular wisdom aspects, right? Coach also has asked some leading questions, which are not say recommended in coaching parallels. But this particular situation is unique. That particular person is needing it. That particular situation. So this is what I'm saying. The coaching is necessarily a process of wisdom. It is not a process of triangle. Of course, the triangle is there. But once you are wise, once you understand that, okay, from where my coach is coming and what is the situation right now and what value I can add right now, that is what the focus has to be. So during that particular process, if you deviate from a process, if you do something different, that is all right. But that should not be your method. Means for example, if you tell me that is okay, my methodology is different than the coaching process, then no, then you are wrong. You remain within the triangle, depending upon the coachee and the situation, flex yourself, sometimes support the coachee in a different way, right? So all these are possibilities which you need to keep in mind when you are learning the process. Again, I am giving you a caveat. I am not asking you to deviate from the process. I am only asking you to have a flexible mindset, because what is the objective of the coaching? To exploit the maximum potential of the coaching. So anything related to that particular objective without deviating from the coaching ideology, not coaching process, right? Coaching process means you can tweak, but without deviating from the coaching ideology. What is coaching ideology? That it is the client who has to come with the solution. It is the client who has to act, and you should not advise or the direct or tell client directly. But can you create an environment wherein the client will get support in the direction? Client will get a support in how to think? Yes, you can do it. And this demo was for that.